moments of circumstances bring darkness and change, and the light will come and you will feel free. If you fall, it's the only way to clean the dust, clean your room. My mind is my home, and leave your shoes at the doormat and respect my boundaries. I stay on course of change and fluidity, always. I am all and I am destined to be. I am all I am destined to be, right here within me. Cleanse the spirit, cleanse the mind, cleanse this planet, purge the system, cleanse, cleanse your soul, cleanse the mind, it's time to cleanse, it's time, Cleanse your spirit, cleanse your home, cleanse all you knew, because it is no longer you. New. Smudge the lust, kiss the us. Clean the being that wasn't freeing your needs to be selfless, best at no stressing. Feel the lessons and confession, new profession for digression of affection from draining energies and substances. Cleaner functioning, can't rush a thing. Paths and lines collide, beaming with light, your light intertwined. Clean your sight in this line so you can reach your highest of mights. Overcome the strife in this find, and eons away the birth will take heights. Truth and light, knowledge is sight. Light is alright. Okay. Cleanse your soul. Cleanse the whole, feed your no. Voids suck, but the dust they fuck leaves you cleansed. Get the broom and make amends. Meditation. Cleanse. Reaction. Cleanse. Satisfaction. Cleanse. Hate. Cleanse. Debate. Cleanse. Jealousy and impatience. Cleanse. Hating a nation. Borders lose that mentality. Free your mind. Free rationality. Founded on sacred stolen land for profit. Renewable. And we want more? Cleanse the bloodthirsty soulless whore. Cleanse the mind. Cleanse the eye. Cleanse the spite. Cleanse my dark and my light. Bless the fight. Bless the ancestors. Bless the night. Bless the eye. Bless the protection my armor provides. For I am protected. Cleansed, non-affected. Cleansed and reflected. Cleansed, I am selfless.
morning, good morning, good morning. You are welcome. You are tuned in to the Urban Conservative. I'm Chaz Neal, activist based in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And with me today, co-host, executive producer, John Tel Tolan.
Yo, Grand Rising, everyone. It's good to be here. Good to be with you. Hope you are staying warm out there because I woke up this morning cold. I gotta
Yep.
take my AC out, yo. It's getting a little too chilly, a little nip in here, and I'm sitting in front of my heater. That's how I'm feeling today. So I hope y'all are all out there staying warm. And as usual, Chaz, it's a pleasure to be here.
Always, man. It's Kobe Bryant numbers here. 24. You know what I'm saying? And today we are being brought to you today by the Leon Block Independent Media. We are all about transparency, truth, and accountability. The Urban Conservative is all about the news on the streets, gun violence, crime, politics, and how we solve our community's most hardest issues. How can we change our communities for the better? Let's get back to family, community, foundational roots. Let's make sure nobody gets left behind. Shut up and help. Uh, I always, today is truthful transparency Thursday. It is Thursday, not titty Thursday, not whatever the hell it used to call it, because we about change and transparency and truth here. And today's episode is called The Buck Broken Society. Uh, and people are buck broken. What the hell does that mean? And that's what we're going to explain to you today, buck broken. Because when people see money, you see George Washington, you see Abraham Lincoln, all the, some presidents. But what you don't see or hear is the slave owners, because that's what they were.
Right.
They were slave owners. So every time, and this is the part for me is that, we say that money is the root of all evil. And in history, how has that not proven us to be true? Because before there was money, there was coins, dollar bills. What money was cotton. Who picked cotton?
Right.
Blacks. And it's sick to me to see that what a lot of people don't understand is, and even in, like, there's people are doing events. You know what I'm saying? You have the out of Red Wing, Minnesota, you have the native community, Prairie Island and Red Wing, together formatting. Now, see the problem, they're only asking for cotton fiber material clothing, cotton blend. Now, I have an issue with that. And now I'm going to explain to you of my thing about cotton blend. What people don't understand about cotton blend is, and if they've changed that over the years, I'm not really 100% sure. But when I did my research on cotton blend, that is something that they made slaves wear because it was uncomfortable.
Oh.
Yeah. And the part that hurts me about all of the thing of seeing that in Red Wing is the fact that they don't give a fuck about Black trauma,
No.
because they don't ever want to admit the part about the KKK. They don't ever want to admit about the cross burnings. They don't ever want to talk about or even be accountable for the racism, but they always want to pander to the Native Americans.
Wow, really?
Oh yeah, man, yes. And I'm going to speak on it because
it makes sense. It makes sense, but damn, go elaborate.
it doesn't make sense to me, because at the end of the day, they don't even give a. I'm gonna be like this, and I'm saying what I said. This is Chaz Neal, the Urban Conservative. These are my opinions. These are my perspectives. But when it comes to the reservations in Minnesota, they don't give a fuck about their people. They don't. Maybe some of them do, but honestly, most of them don't. They sit there and they get all of this money from the casino, but yet they don't even take care of their own people, because drugs run rampant on reservations. Sex trafficking runs rampant on the casino reservations, but we don't talk about that.
Mm.
because it's bad for the casinos. It's bad for the casinos.
Hold on a second. We got a guest. How do we sound now? Because they said that we sounds like we're breaking up a bit here.
Oh, it's Breaking Bad.
Yeah, how do we sound now? Let us
That's
know.
what
Let us
happens
know.
when you're speaking the truth.
Right. Check. 1 2 1 2. How we sounding out there? How about you?
These people
All
crazy.
right.
Keep
So,
talking.
You were saying about reservations and
Yeah, it's
things that
you
happen.
know they like to be considered BIPOC, right?
Mhm.
But when it's time to sit there and do things for BIPOC people, they like to be separated and be like, no, we want to do things for Native Americans. Or the Hispanics are the same way. Because I'll tell you right now, in Red Wing, Goodhue County, Minnesota, there isn't anything for Black people. We don't have no NAACP. We don't have the BLM group we had. They got out of town. They ran the most outspoken Black man out of Red Wing. Out of Red Wing. I still got people reach out to me damn near every day from Red Wing telling me stories. Honestly, I don't know what to do. I get stories from Mankato, Rochester, Albert Lee, Owatonna. Honestly, I don't even know what to do anymore because I truly, to be honest, didn't want to leave Red Wing. But there was too many broken ass niggas because they broke them. And I know that there's some that are trying to fight. There's some that are really, really, really trying to fight. And I'm going to say, help him. Help him. Help Michael Holmes. So all you broken ass niggas in Red Wing, help. And there's quite a few of y'all. There's quite a few that sit there and look the other way while shit is going on, but then want to cry when the shit happens to you and be like, where's everybody at? Nigga, we'll be out here for everybody else because then everybody else will be out here for you.
Facts.
Stop doing them pity parties, them crying, because niggas is out here making their own decisions. Niggas is out here making their own decisions, but yet instead of sitting there taking accountability, y'all want to rat, y'all want to snitch on niggas that's just minding their business, doing what they're doing out here trying to support their families. But because you don't have them same opportunities, you want to be hateful and you're sitting in a jail cell, but you see somebody out here doing better than you are. So you want to go tell on them. You want to go tell on them. And we respect that. I sit there and I live in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I see so many broken ass niggas. I'm going to be 100% honest. That's all I see. I see men out here that are talking about they're strong Black men, but then yet get on Instagram and Facebook and want to talk about their Madea. Or they want to talk about that they're sexual chocolate.
What?
Are you a man or a woman? You can't be both. Don't get out here and say that you're a strong Black man, but then get on the internet and you want to act all buck broken. And I'm talking about Brandon Tullock and Lavish Mac. Lavishly in Madea. Because I'm tired of people coming in here and telling me that they're for my community, but the minute y'all say y'all try to stand up for something, that's not what strong Black men do. That's buck broken because that's what the white man wants you to do. They want you to get up there and act all silly. This motherfucker Lavish got a tight ass yellow dress on talking about he's sexual chocolate.
Now I want to be clear because we had a talk about this and people thought that like we were, I don't know, I guess being like, I want to be clear. Right. I want to be clear that I'm a part of the queer community. And so like my partner is another guy, you know what I'm saying? I took offense to Lavish Mac sporting a tight a scantily clad, skin tight dress in a dressing room, and he was walking down the runway as if he was modeling. But the way that he was doing it was as if he was like, it wasn't like he was, all right, so like if you're masculine presenting, right?
Right.
And you were putting on a dress for fun to maybe raise awareness about allyship. I just, you wouldn't make a mockery of what feminism or what a feminine like attitude would be. Do you get what I'm saying?
Definitely.
And he walked with this flair and like flung his hair as if he was trying to be like, I felt like he was mocking the queer community instead of trying to be an ally. If that was the intention, if he was trying to be an ally, he did a piss poor job of it. And that's what I'm speaking to when it comes to like being buck broken, because you're doing the white man's job. You're taking another community, another oppressed community, and pitting people against each other, blurring lines. When really you're just making a mockery of shit and making us all look bad. Yeah. It was like I said, it was piss poor. If he was trying to make some kind of statement, he should sit the fuck down and shut the fuck up, because it was a horrible statement to make. And again, like I'm all for like gender and lack of gender equality.
Right.
Like I don't see gender, but also I personally identify as a masculine presenting male.
Right.
So I'm not going to, like, if I was to wear a dress or do drag, it would be for fun, for Halloween or something. Like, but I've never done it. I don't have a need to, and I don't need to show that I'm someone that speaks for the queer community by putting on a fucking dress.
Right.
Why did you do it for likes? Like that's what I'm getting at.
Right.
Who put you up to this? Why did you feel the need to do this? And what were you trying to get out of this? Like what was the response? Were you trying to get some laughs? Because if that's the case, that's fucked up.
And that's what I want to get into, because before and what I want people to know is what I'm about to read you off from is from William Spivey, who is a renowned Black revolutionary that speaks on different issues when it comes to Black individuality. And so he starts as, before I unpack the sexual degradation of Black men, of Black men, I want to discuss the other forms of buck breaking, some of which still go on today. The first is whipping and beatings, which we know to have been an essential part of controlling the enslaved men and women at every point in American history. I don't need to go back into the days of enslavement to prove brutality as a means of control. Ronald Green was said to have crashed into a tree before camera footage revealed the fatal beating he took from the Louisiana State Troopers.
Talk about it.
Aaron Bowman.
Horrible beating. Horrible. And people believe he died in a fucking car accident.
Right. Aaron Bowman fortunately survived a beating to the head with a flashlight by a different Louisiana State Trooper, and the officer justified it as pain compliance. Lest you get the impression this only happens in Louisiana. 2 Colorado police officers severely beat Kyle Vincent. Pernell Harris was beaten nearly to death in Georgia. San Diego police beat homeless Jesse Evans for urinating outside. We all seen George Floyd in Minneapolis. Beating Black men, humiliate them, and make them submit is prevalent today, just as it was during enslavement. Buck breaking lives on. And arrest is another form of buck breaking. Mass incarceration and demonstrating the ability to arrest and jail Black men with little or no cause. Police officers of every color persecute Black males, often without cause, and brag about it on their social media groups.
Yo, now, bro, please do me a favor and send me that, because I'm going to repost that.
Yep, I will.
Please.
And this conversation is between 2 officers. The first is Officer Brown. How was his attitude at the jail? Officer Harper. Complete silence. Officer DeMoss. LOL. He was still digesting that ass whooping. Officer Brown. It's going to take him a couple of days, and he's going to be sore tomorrow for sure. Bet he won't run from a full-grown bear again.
Wow.
Officer DeMoss. Bet he don't even cross into LA anymore. Officer Harper. Grizzly, nah, he going to spread the word. That's for damn sure. Officer DeMoss. He's going to have nightmares for a long time. Officer Brown. Laugh my ass off. Warms my heart knowing we could educate that young man. Black men are often too singled out for beating, arrest, and humiliation at work, at school, and when doing ordinary things like going to the store or driving a car. But I start this story about talking about sexual brutalization so that's where this story will end. The forced breastfeeding of enslaved people in America. I've read much of my work. You know, I've written a lot about the forced breeding and rape of enslaved Black women. I haven't touched upon the rape of enslaved Black men because I didn't know anything about it. Among the excuses people have given to say buck breaking in that manner didn't exist was because homosexuality was a mortal sin. And America wasn't nearly as harsh on enslaved people as Brazil or Caribbean. I have no reason to believe America meant there were fewer gay people in America than all the known countries in the world, or that the slave rapists considered that a homosexual act. It was about humiliation and power. I certainly don't believe American enslavement was less harsh. America gave its plantation owners to kill their property without having to atone, or gave white men the right to rape their Black women with no responsibility for the children born from their act of cruelty. America ranked in brutality with the best of them, measured in murders and lynchings. Still, documented cases of sexual buck breaking in America are hard to find, unlike in Jamaica and elsewhere in the Caribbean. Some of these historian deniers of buck breaking acknowledge that it happened occasionally, but nothing widespread. They said the same thing about rape of Black women, calling the dramatic birth rate natural increase. Even the cover picture for this story is presented as proof buck breaking didn't exist because another version of the naked enslaved man exists with him tied to a wheel. I can't answer how many Black men were raped as punishment. That still happens today, but usually in the jails. It isn't taught in the schools and is usually not seen in film unless you account the rape of Marcellus Wallace in Pulp Fiction. This is it. It really took me for a loop for the simple fact of that nobody ever wants to talk about history. You know, they want to put things in front of us and be like, this is the way that it was. And see, now that we're in a new generation where we have better technology, we have better researching skills, it's easier to find information that once wasn't. We had to go to encyclopedias, or we had to go to the library. We had to do a lot of research, you know. I forget what they call those things, but they got them in the library. And if you want to go look at a 1930 newspaper, you got to go up to it and the slides thing.
Yep.
Yeah, the magnifying thing. You know what I'm saying? But now you don't have to do that because it's all in our hands. You know, we have laptops, we have phones, we have tablets. Everything's got Google, so it's at an easier accessible to us, and that's why we're seeing good morning. That's why we're seeing the things that we're seeing today, because people don't just believe the first thing that they're told. People have to research now, and that's why we got to get more into reading, because that is where we educate, because the schools aren't doing it right. They're leaving out so many parts of history that are important today. Important today, because regardless if it's bad, ugly, or good, it's still American history. I just want the truth, because at the end of the day, I still want to be able to I don't dislike George Washington. I don't dislike even some of the most racist people in history. But I want to know their history, but I also want to know not only that, hey, they were whatever, but I also want to know about the Shirley Chisholms. I also want to know about the Frederick Douglasses, and not even Nat Turner. I want to know more about Nat Turner than him just being some revolutionary. I want to know the Nat Turner that was out in the fields. I want to know the Nat Turner that grew up as a kid. I don't want to know just the narrative,
Right.
because we get full histories on George Washington, but we don't have that for Frederick. We don't have Frederick Douglass. We don't have that for Harriet Tubman. We get narratives, and they only tell us what we want to hear, because I sit there and do my own research on the Underground Railroad, and that sure the hell ain't what I read in school.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Or even about Black Wall Street. So how is society not buck breaking us?
It's on a large. I mean, look what's happening to Kanye and Kyrie. That's buck breaking on a large scale to set an example for the rest of Black men to not speak up for yourself, or to not be free thinking. They don't want you to think for yourself, and it has nothing to do with the nature of what they were saying. It's the fact that they were saying something that other people don't talk about at all.
And you make a very good point, because they even do buck breaking today in other forms when it comes to mass incarceration.
Yep.
We sit here and look at it. I can bring up 20 stories of 20 different crimes and have a Black man and a white man, and I guarantee you all 20 of them are not going to have the same sentences. The white man is always going to have the better deal out of all of it. Always. Prove me wrong. And I'm not telling you, John Tell, but any listeners, any viewers, please correct me, because I'll tell you right now that I see it all the time. I just seen a man, child porn, making videos, jacking off to a 1-year-old baby, and he got probation and a $140 fine.
So he's still roaming free,
You're still roaming free in the streets. We have teachers that are out here abusing our kids at school. We have other students bullying, but they're not supposed to say nothing. Fuck that.
This is crazy to me. I mean, I grew up knowing about Juneteenth. At some point in my teenage years, I found out about it.
Right.
I didn't really go seeking out more information until a couple years ago, maybe like in 2018.
Right.
But it wasn't until 2020 that I really took into getting more into it. So I get that, Leslie. I definitely get it. But and I also get that your dad didn't want to talk about it, being that he was definitely
Confederate. Right.
Right.
You know, I learned about Juneteenth growing up, not in school, but because in St. Paul, they had what was called Rondo Days. And that was during Juneteenth. So they basically put the community Rondo, the Rondo Neighborhood Association, every year in June, always did this for the community, because they wanted us to know our history.
Right.
So, and honestly, with Rondo, it even go, and I will get into this. I'm not really a big history buff on the Rondo neighborhood in St. Paul.
I think it was Georgia Fort that did a story on it, and I was fascinated. Like,
it is.
History is my thing. So, like, when I saw that story, I never knew that there was a historical Black community up there at all. Like, again, my perception of what Minnesota was before George Floyd and before Daunte Wright and now are completely different. I didn't know that there was Black and brown people up there. I didn't know there were so many immigrants up there. Like, the perception outside of Minnesota is that it's nothing but hick white people up in there.
It can keep on being that way. I mean, I don't care what people really think about Minnesota, but I know that Minnesota has a rich Black history. Yeah, and I know that Minnesota likes to cover it up.
It's unbeknownst to the rest of the nation. When I saw that little piece, it blew me away. Because it's so similar to any other major city in the U.S. as to how this played out. Same thing with Philly. It happened in Philly. You know what I'm saying? But the way that they did the highway, I mean, you've got the Schuylkill, which is 76, and the way that they brought it into the city, it goes through West Philly. But then you've got I-95, which goes up. It follows the Delaware River, and it went through historical poor communities on the eastern side of Philly's borders. In any other city, it's the same thing. A lot of times they use the highways to box in red line communities, though. And I
Right.
guess Rondo, they just ran it straight through the neighborhood, which completely decimated it.
You know, oh shit, wrong one. I'm gonna send you something, and we're gonna talk about it after break. We're gonna take a small commercial break, and when we come back, we're gonna talk about 150 years of uncertain lives. Um, the first 150 years in Red Wing, Minnesota, and we're also going to talk about different aspects of what buck breaking looks like today. So we'll be right back, and you are tuned in to the Urban Conservative. Yo, we are back. We are back. We are back. So coming back from the break, and tuned into the Urban Conservative. I know I said uncertain lives, African Americans in their first 150 years in Red Wing, Minnesota area. So doing research in Red Wing. You know, there's this is where I lived at before I moved back to Minneapolis. And there was just, they don't really have nothing for Black people. So I started doing my research and I came on this book. Thank you, Kent Logan. I came up on this book. Frederick Johnson wrote it. And there's a lot of history in this book that isn't told in Red Wing. That people don't even know that Red Wing had the first Black barbershop. Red Wing had the first Black-owned business in Minnesota, which is now the Salvation Army, and it was called the Equal Rights Meat Market. Wow. That was by Jeremiah Patterson and a white lady that went down south and was teaching kids how to read. And Jeremiah followed her up here. She gave him a job on her farm, since he had butchering skills and all that, and they got into business together. And that isn't even, it's not even talked about. And it really sickens me that a lot of Red Wings history isn't told. And there's, people they say that Red Wings had a black mayor. Man, these people that call themselves black barely look black or don't even act black.
Talk about it.
And that, for me, is the biggest thing of it. So in this book, there was some stories in there that I thought were kind of odd. Well, doing my research, I came up on another, and you shared it in here. It's called Sundown Towns, which Minnesota had now there it is. It sucks that this man passed away last year. Because I reached out to him in 2020, the end of 2020, me and James had a very great conversation. And I really thank everything that the information that he gave me, because see, what people don't understand is what Napa meant in some of these areas was no African people allowed. Now, see, back in history, you'll see that some of these stores labeled that they had Napas, but there was never any Napas there. So people don't want to get into that. There's Pine Island, Cannon Falls, Owatonna, all of the Cannon, like these, look at all of this. And it really trips me out how people do not want to say that there isn't racism still alive in America today when we can still see it, because y'all don't want to admit to it. And this is, the thing that bugs me is that some of these politicians, they'll say race, but this is, you never knew about this, did you, bro?
Wow, my hometown, yo. My hometown was a sundown town, and it's crazy because my hometown.
Click on it.
My hometown is known for being a historical black town. Like, we were one of the stops on the Underground Railroad. The Underground Railroad ran right through Coatesville, first of all. Like, we were known for being a place for black people to thrive when they came from the South because of the steel mills that.
Right.
Yo. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm. So if people want to know their history, go on there and look. Do your own research. Go to the historical societies, because I'll tell you right now, for anybody that is listening in the Goodhue County right now, go to the Goodhue County Historical Society. They have so much history.
This is why this name, my hometown's name might be on here, and I'm well aware of what happened in Coatesville in 1911. I've written stories about it, poems about it, and so Zachariah Walker, yes, Walker, was a black man who was charged with killing the town sheriff.
Right.
After the guy, the sheriff went to fight him. Zachariah Walker shot at him after he had shot at another person, but Zachariah was drunk. And at that time, it was still kind of like the Wild West in Coatesville. I know Coatesville very well. It's a small town. It's very hilly. He had took off running and was like hiding out in different places around the area. They went hunting for him. They found him in a tree, ripped him from the tree. They took him to in front of this what's known as Coatesville Hospital. It was at the time.
Yeah.
So, he was. They tried to protect his safety from the mob that was ensuing outside. They chained him to a bed, but they left him there. Like, they didn't actually protect him.
Right.
Obviously. So this mob went right into the hospital, ripped him from. They literally carried him outside with the bed attached or the mattress attached or some shit, and put him into a fire. And he kept trying to run out of the fire. They would throw him back in.
They made an example out of him.
they made an example out of him after his body was charred. They cut him up, chopped him up, and everyone took souvenirs home with them.
Wow.
Because of this story, I could understand how they would rate Coatesville a sundown town, but I find it very hard to believe Coatesville being a sundown town, because since the 1800s, it was known as a town for Black people to go to because they could get a job.
So
a really, really good paying job working at a steel mill that white people would get jealous of sometimes. Like,
I'm going to tell you like this, right? If
Yeah.
you have any questions, there is, so before James Lowell died, he passed away last year. This research, all of this is still going on. You can message these people. There's still a research group, because there was an endowment and all of that. But you can go on this website and ask questions and things about that, because they are still looking for information.
So this list here for Pennsylvania is very telling as well. So Punxsutawney, you've heard of Punxsutawney Phil?
Everybody's heard of that. Come on, really?
Exactly. New Holland, which is here in Lancaster County. It's a small town, a satellite town in Lancaster County.
Yo, you ain't gonna take, just because I showed you some new shit, you ain't gonna take over my buck breaking episode.
Oh, I'm not. One more thing though that I wanted to get to is Levittown. Have you heard of Levittown?
My daddy from Pennsylvania.
So for those who don't know, Levittown is the first suburb. Levittown was the prototype of what we now know of as American suburbia, or suburbia in general, was created with Levittown, and it was created to specifically keep people of color, all people of color out, but specifically Black people. It was supposed to be a town of all white people. This is how Covenants started. So this is what took sundown towns and made it into something completely different. This is what helped solidify redlining and keeping communities separate. So that's what I just wanted to touch on right there. Definitely check out.
We're gonna get back onto this, because I didn't know, and you didn't know about this website.
I didn't.
Yeah. Oh, because there's some other ones that I can show you too. Because there is a lot, even in Minnesota, the U of M has done a redlining and covenants research project, and I don't know how much they really have done yet, but they have been going through all the deeds, the land deeds, to see if there were still racial covenants. Because what people don't understand is that the Black codes changed over the years. Because they're in the South, there are still Black codes that are well in. And yes, and that's the thing of it is, we have to look at the wordage.
They still utilize it to lock Black people up day in and day out in Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia.
Right. It's not, but you know what's crazy? It's one thing that I'm learning is it wasn't just the South, because northern states just had it just as bad.
Actually worse.
They wanted to call themselves,
because the South had it's hard to. All right, so the North touted itself as being free, and so they thought there was nothing wrong with the way that they had viewpoints and things. Enacting their way of segregation, do you know what I mean, was to enact these redlining laws and stuff like that. But in a lot of more ways, it was more malicious than anything else. And it's in a lot of ways why we have such passive aggressive racism in the North and Northeast specifically, because of the way that we did Jim Crow.
Big facts. And that's even what I want to get into, different forms of buck breaking, because there wasn't just beatings, whippings, rape. There was other forms. So you had breeding farms during the rise of the abolitionists, whatever the hell that word is, something that ain't ever gonna happen in my lifetime, who were fighting for the end of slavery. The slave trade draft. You know what? Hold on, because I want to. This part makes me want to back up my words I just said. Because if it wasn't for abolitionists, slavery would probably still be there. And they fought. Maybe some of them still died as slaves, but see, they weren't fighting for them not to be slaves. Right then and there, they were fighting so the next generation wouldn't be slaves. So remember, I want people to remember that, because if you're in this fight, you're not doing this for you. You're doing this for future generations, because we're not going to feel the success of what we're fighting for. We're going to feel the pain and the trauma of what we're fighting for. So, the slave trade drastically reduced. Slave ships were stopped. Slaves were helped to escape. Many slaves gained a new form of confidence to rebel, resist, or escape. This placed a huge toll on the slave trade, and plantation owners did not have enough labor to meet the market demands for their produce. They then came out with breeding farms that exploited the sexuality of men. At breeding farms, healthy and strong enslaved men were forced to have sex with women to get them pregnant. The white slave masters did not care if these women were the mothers, daughter, or relatives of the men, and the men were made to have sex with at least 6 women a day to increase the possibility of the number of women who got pregnant. Breeding farms became a lucrative business, especially in South America, and created the term motherfucker, which literally explained a male having sex with his mother. Many enslaved men who were the heads of breeding farms died of sexual exhaustion. Yeah, that shit crazy. I never knew that. I never knew that. Wow. So that's where motherfucker comes from. Because of people literally fucking their moms. That's crazy. That's nasty and crazy at the same time. That's like mind-blowing, kind of, actually.
There's a lot, to be honest, there's a lot of things that have become a part of American society that have their racist transatlantic enslavement origins, but we don't talk about it.
Right.
And this was news to me as well. But
Damn.
That's
it. So next, castration and genital mutilation. Enslaved men were castrated or sexually mutilated as a form of punishment. Such punishments were meted out to an enslaved man when he was caught in bed with his master's wife or daughter, are said to be married and having an affair with an enslaved woman who is the sexual interest of a merchant or slave master. These acts were also done to take away any form of pride of an enslaved man. Enslaved men who were often the leaders of a group of slaves on a plantation or a rebel group were castrated and called women to show the white man's dominance. Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow, so they would literally take their shit off and start calling them women. That's wow. Entertaining sex. Many white supremacist, wealthy merchants, and aristocrats often used enslaved men as a form of sexual entertainment. Enslaved men were often made to line up naked for their sexual organs to be scrutinized, laughed at, and discussed. They were also made to dance naked. In extreme cases, an enslaved man was made to forcefully have sex with an enslaved virgin to entertain white viewers. Yeah, they was doing porn back then.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Wow. Rape.
We're enslaved people, so they utilized them in every way that they could.
Good. Right.
Like they utilized them for everything. They made them do everything for them. So yeah, there is no limit to the kind of things that they did to us. There's no limit to the kind of things they did to us. You can't even say we were dolls to them because that's too good.
Right.
can utilize us as if we were. Yeah.
Well, here's another. So even rape, rape, shockingly, the raping of enslaved men was as prevalent as the raping of enslaved women. However, the issue of enslaved men as rape victims has been mainly undiscovered due to the fact that men were generally shy to voice out that they had been raped by male merchants or their owners. Aside from being shy, the issue of enslaved men being raped was not believable because many of the men that raped them were married or had several girlfriends. So it was still, and that's one thing that I'm glad that came up in that because that's something that even today isn't. Men are still, when they're raped or taken advantage of sexually, don't like to talk about.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's the one thing, because even for me, you know what I'm saying? Like I've admitted it before. I've came up and told my story that was just recent. You know what I'm saying? Within the last six years of being sexually molested by correctional officers. So that's to, they try to take away your power because they feel like to belittle you, to that they have power. That's why I never, like, dealing with police, I don't never let them motherfuckers get it. You're not gonna stand above me. I'm not a bitch. You know what I'm saying? You're not gonna show dominance. And that's one thing that I like with O'Hara, is that he likes to look who he's talking to in their face, not stand over them, but to stand eye to eye with them, because he wants to look you in your eyes. And see, that's where I see what a lot of these motherfuckers out here, especially these black politicians, they like to show their dominance because they like to speak while we're sitting down. Nah, fuck that, nigga. Speak to me while I'm standing. Look me in my face, or you sit down too. Because there ain't no dominance over here, nigga. Ain't no dominance over here. You're not about to buck break me like them niggas buck broke you.
Right.
No, I'm not going for none of that no more. And if people can't see that shit, that's dominance, y'all are ignorant. That's why anytime I've ever dealt with Red Wing police, I ain't never just let them do no shit like that to me. Even with Minneapolis, get the fuck up out of my face. You're not about to do me like that. Because first of all, I'm not a threat. And if I got a warrant, I'll turn my motherfucking self in. You ain't got to come look for me. You ain't never got to come look for me. I'll meet your ass down there. Because they're not about to sit there and bum break me.
Right.
Man. So, any last thoughts today?
Oh man, I just realized we almost, yeah. So yeah, it was definitely a very, very transparent Thursday, that is for sure. And I gotta give it up to you, man, Chaz. Like, this was a very telling episode, and is very it's a little tidbit of a little taste of Find Your Boots and what that is about. To you got to know your roots to find your boots. You can't have your boots on the ground effectively if you don't know how the fuck you gonna get there, which is where you came from, who birthed you, who birthed them, what did they go through to make you? Because we inherit what our parents are genetically. If our parents were going through trauma, we inherit that trauma. It's not just studies showing, it's a scientific fact. So it brings me back to the whole topic of today, it was extremely enlightening. You brought the history, you brought the knowledge, and you got my juices flowing because you know how I am with history. You really hit a nerve with me. And then also with the topic of I'm a survivor of rape myself, and just have had like in the past my own issues with like masculinity and stereotypes and everything. And so the issue and the topic of buck breaking,
Man, you know what I'm gonna tell you, bro, is what you're continually doing is face everything and rise.
facts.
And I want to say that, man, because I know it's been tough these last couple weeks, man, and it's been tough for a lot of people. And I see a lot of people are facing their fears and rising, man. They're not running anymore, and I love y'all for that. I really got to get that out. I really got to get that out.
For real. There's only one way to go, and that's forward or up.
Oh, so until next time, meditate through the pain, celebrate the ties that bond, liberate our people, and educate our youth so we can stop the bloodshed. Be the change. Win or fail, freedom or jail, heaven or hell, wish me well.